Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is once again retesting this critical area of resistance, as we've just seen the Federal Reserve confirm no change in interest rates. But in the short term, Bitcoin is still potentially flashing this warning signal, alongside Ethereum also playing out the same short-term warning signal, while the price of Chainlink is continuing to reject from this critical resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a look at the news today, because a matter of hours ago, we saw the latest FOMC meeting, also known as the Fed meeting, and of course, we saw the expected outcome, which was no change in interest rates. And obviously, if you watched my last video here on the channel that I posted just yesterday, of course, you'll know about how this was the most likely outcome, and this was, of course, being priced into the market. So in other words, this was the neutral outcome, which is why we didn't necessarily see a massive move in the market when this was released. And so honestly, there's not much else to talk about with this latest Fed meeting. That's just giving you a quick update on the situation. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin price charts today, here on the 4-day time frame, the super trend indicator has not changed over the last 1 day. So getting straight into this weekly Bitcoin chart, and for now, we technically still have a massive bearish divergence to watch out for, which is technically still active on the weekly time frame. But over the last 1 day, we've not really changed anything on this chart. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, obviously, as I've been saying over the last month or so, we are moving closer towards a bullish crossover, seeing declining bearish momentum in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. And the last couple of times we've seen this in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, we were already in the recovery stage for the price of Bitcoin, starting to see more bullish price action, but not yet reaching a significant amount of bullish momentum, because most of the bullish momentum that we saw in these previous moves came just after we confirmed the bullish crossover. And once again, based on the current rate that we're moving, potentially in a week from now, we might confirm this bullish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. And just keep in mind, based on these last two signals here, that means more bullish price action still to come, potentially, of course, if we actually confirm this bullish crossover. But overall, this Bitcoin chart is still looking more bullish than bearish. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, for now, the price of Bitcoin is still running into this area of resistance, sitting in between around 96,000 to 98,000. And that's based on the volume profile indicator, showing a lot of resistance right there. But we can also see in the volume profile indicator that above 98,000, obviously the resistance, the traded volume right here, really starts to drop off. In other words, we don't really have a significant amount of resistance above the price of Bitcoin once we can first break out above 98,000 and actually confirm that breakout with at least a daily candle close, ideally a 3-day candle close here above 98,000. If that happens, basically it's extremely likely we'll just continue recovering up towards all-time highs. But for now, once again, we are still running into this resistance, and if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, of course, we're running into this resistance as well, based on the golden pocket right here, which is the most important Fibonacci area, and that's sitting in between around 96,000 to 98,000 approximately. So once again, especially 97 to 98k, that is the key resistance we need to break out above in order to finally start to flip much more bullish again, kind of like what we saw right here. The moment we broke out above approximately 88,000, that was a very bullish signal, signaling much more bullish price action. And so obviously, as I shared very transparently here on the channel back then, that was a key point to potentially enter a long position once we broke out above 88,000, and that's exactly what I did. As always, I put my money where my mouth is and make a lot of profits here on this channel very transparently. And we could potentially see the same thing once we actually confirm a breakout above 98,000. We could potentially see another quick bullish move towards all-time highs, well above 100,000. But remember, in order to expect that next major bullish move, we need to first confirm a breakout above 98,000. So we've not yet confirmed that breakout. We're still retesting this resistance, which means, at least for now, there's still the possibility, there's still the risk of another rejection here. And as for other levels of support and resistance, at least based on this chart right here, we have this Fibonacci level of resistance sitting at around 102k, and we also have major support at around 93,500 and also at close to 92,000, and of course significant support at around 88,000. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now the Bitcoin RSI on the daily time frame is starting to cool off from overbought territories, which is exactly what I've been talking about every day over the last week, give or take, here on the channel. I've been saying it's very likely we're going to slow down for a little while just in the short term, mostly see a bit of choppy sideways price action, maybe a slight little pullback here and there. And of course, over the last 1 week, that's exactly what we saw as expected, which is now helping to reset the RSI down towards more neutral levels. And so the further this goes on, the better, because that actually gives us more room towards the upside later on for a potential breakout above this resistance. Obviously, we want to have some decent room towards the upside to actually confirm this breakout. So for now, we're still kind of seeing that short-term cool off, but once again, we're getting quite close to possibly breaking out above this resistance. But something to watch out for, at least in the short term here on the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, is still this bearish divergence, which at least for now, we've not yet fully invalidated this short-term bearish divergence because we've not yet confirmed a breakout in the price above this previous high, or a breakout in the RSI above this previous high, or for that matter, even above this line of resistance. And so this means, technically speaking, the short-term bearish divergence is still currently active. Once again, we've not confirmed an invalidation signal to invalidate the bearish divergence, which means we could potentially see a little bit more choppy sideways price action as a likely scenario, or maybe potentially another slight little rejection, kind of like what we saw over the last 1 week, give or take, just this short-term pullback here, rejecting from resistance. That is still a possibility until we actually invalidate this bearish divergence. And ideally, in order to properly invalidate the bearish divergence, we need to actually see some higher highs here in the 6-hour Bitcoin RSI above these previous highs, because in that situation, if we have higher highs in the RSI and higher highs in the price, there's no divergence at all. But for example, if we make just a slight little higher high in the price above this previous high, while the RSI is still sitting in a lower high, we could potentially just confirm a new bearish divergence in that situation. And so for now, once again, this is still something to pay attention to, alongside the fact that we're still running into significant resistance. Of course, there is still short-term risk that we need to be aware of. But overall, considering we are starting to gain more and more bullish momentum, and of course decrease the bearish momentum, overall, I'm still more bullish than bearish. There's just a bit of short-term risk that we need to consider. And when it comes to my Bitcoin trading strategy, over the last few days, it has not changed. So I'm still in that Bitcoin long position that I entered at give or take 88,000. And of course, I've been in that trade ever since then, once again, sharing it very transparently here on the channel. And you can go back just a couple of videos ago here on the channel if you want to know more about that exact trading strategy. And if you want to actually trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I'm taking a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to 35,000 in USDT, which you can actually claim onto your account if you're trading a lot of crypto here. But if you're not one of these larger traders, you can also get some decent deposit bonuses. Like for example, if you deposit just $100, you get a $20 bonus onto your account, or if you deposit just $1,000, you get $200 onto your account as an extra bonus. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, the first link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim some massive trading bonuses. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and for now, we have actually some liquidity that is building above the price and also below the price of Bitcoin. And so for now, the most significant area to watch out for in the short term based on this liquidation heat map is at approximately 98,000, and we still have some liquidity that's also building at just above 93,000. So based on this chart right here, this is telling us that it's actually quite likely we'll hit 98,000 give or take to simply just take out that liquidity, but there's also still the risk that we could ultimately come back down to close to 93,000 to take out that liquidity. So for example, what that suggests is possibly a slight little move like that, and then maybe some choppy sideways price action just to take out both of those areas. That's a possibility that we need to consider. But for now, the 98k level is currently more likely than the 93k level. And that's simply due to two factors. Obviously, at the time of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is simply closer to 98,000 than it is to 93,000. But on top of that, we have a little bit more liquidity at 98,000 than what we have at 93,000. So based on those two reasons right there, it is more likely that we'll soon hit 98,000 than it is that we'll actually hit 93,000. And so that is the current situation on the price of Bitcoin. Those are some of the short-term expectations and the mid to longer term expectations for Bitcoin. And of course, my exact Bitcoin trading strategy shared here on the channel. And with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, technically speaking, Ethereum is still playing out this bounce from this significant support in between around 1.4k to 1550, but technically speaking, we've not confirmed a reversal or an invalidation of this larger bearish trend. So technically speaking, Ethereum is still within a bear market. And if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, for now, the price of ETH is still holding above this short-term level of support, which is sitting at around 1790 approximately. So just underneath 1.8k, that is the support to pay attention to. And obviously over the last 1 to almost 2 weeks now, this has been acting as major support for the price. But if we actually confirm a candle close below around 1790, then in that situation, the next support I'll be watching is at close to 1.7k and more support at around 1550 to 1560. And as for resistance, of course, we do have some resistance at close to 1.9k and significant resistance at around 2.1k. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, taking a look at the 6-hour Ethereum price chart, for now, technically speaking, this bearish divergence is still currently active for the price of ETH. And so this means we should continue to expect either a bit of choppy sideways price action like this, or potentially a little bit more of a pullback as the most likely outcomes from a bearish divergence. And of course, over the last few days or so, this is exactly what has already been playing out as expected. And so just in the meantime, in the short term here, continue to expect this to play out. In other words, don't expect significant bullish momentum, at least right now, especially while Bitcoin is still struggling around this resistance right here. Obviously, if we ultimately confirm a major breakout for Bitcoin, of course, as always, that will also really help the price of ETH and a lot of the altcoins here. But until then, while Bitcoin is still somewhat struggling and retesting this resistance, and especially while this bearish divergence is active for Ethereum, basically expect this same sort of price action just in the short term here. But with that being said, taking a look at the price of Solana on the 3-day time frame, and technically speaking, Solana is still playing out this bullish divergence on the 3-day chart. But of course, just over the last few days or so, just over the last week, give or take, we have seen a short-term cool off, exactly as I've been talking about here on the channel. But if we're taking a look at this daily Solana price chart, for now, we're still kind of just hanging around this Fibonacci level based on this previous resistance right here, which was also acting as support right here, and also a bit of resistance once again, and that's sitting at around 147, give or take. So that is a key level that the price is basically just being drawn to right now. And as for other support and resistance to watch out for, we do have some major support at around 136 approximately, and also significant support at around 125. And as for resistance, we do have some resistance at around 155, more resistance at 167, more resistance at 179, and also in between 191 to 200. And as always, expect similar price action for Solana as what Bitcoin and Ethereum and a lot of the crypto markets doing. So if Bitcoin, for example, is continuing to struggle around resistance, and especially if Ethereum and other crypto assets are of course struggling in the short term, kind of like right here, that also influences the price of Solana and a lot of these other crypto assets. So that is the current situation, and those are my expectations moving forward. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the 3-day time frame, technically speaking, this massive bearish divergence that confirmed near the the start of this year is still impacting the price right now. And of course, I've been saying that pretty much every day since pretty much the beginning of this year. Months ago, at much higher prices, I warned about exactly this happening, and so far it is still influencing the price right now. So nothing's really changed on this chart over the last one day. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP chart, for now the price of XRP is still within this descending parallel channel, which is effectively a bearish trend, forming lower highs and lower lows. And so obviously just over the last one day, we've not really changed anything for the price of XRP, but when it comes to support and resistance, we do have a lot of support in between around $2 to $2.05, and of course significant support at around $1.80 approximately. And as for resistance, we do have a decent amount of resistance at just above $2.30 give or take, and also significant resistance at around $2.45. But overall, not a lot has changed for the price of XRP. We're still in a bearish trend, and from time to time we can see slight bullish reliefs during this bearish trend. That is still the situation for the price of XRP. And with that being said, taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame is a similar story for Chainlink as well. Technically speaking, we've not yet confirmed any invalidation or reversal signal out of this larger bearish trend. At least for now, we still currently have lower highs and lower lows, which is basically the definition of a bearish trend. But of course, if we can finally see a confirmed breakout above this area of resistance based on the previous golden pocket area of support, which flipped into significant resistance during the end of March, of course, if we break out above this area, that will be the first major reversal signal, potentially confirming a new bullish trend on the daily time frame, finally out of this bearish trend. And that area of resistance, in case you're new to the channel, is sitting in between around 1490 to 1550. So once again, continue to expect the price to struggle and reject from that area, exactly as I've been saying since before we saw these perfect rejections here. And as for other support and resistance, of course, we do have a decent amount of support in between roughly $12.50 to $13. And in fact, if we bounce from around there on the price chart and come back up towards the golden pocket and then break out above 1550, we have a possible inverse head and shoulders pattern to watch out for. But for now, obviously that's not confirmed, it's just possibly forming. And the next significant resistance above 1550 would be sitting at around 1750 to 1760. And honestly, expect just similar price action for Chainlink as what I said throughout this video for Bitcoin and a lot of the altcoin market. Usually the overall crypto market is quite correlated. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, then make sure to check out those links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.